Namaste. Welcome, beautiful souls. This is going to be amazing. I have on my deck also pulled out the Thoth Tarot as well as the Thoth Journey Tarot. And I have decided that I'm going to expand the Tarot Avatara deep dive into something that I've never really quite done before. I think that in diving into this amazing deck by Gabby Angus-West, we have so much that we can discuss and share. And I am very excited about this many month-long journey that I hope you will share with me. So where am I at and what are we doing? So today I'm going to talk about a practice of choosing favorite cards, and I'm going to use the word repulse, least favorite cards, cards that really turn you off for one reason or another. And I'm going to talk about the practice of awakening a deck and choosing a favorite and a least favorite card. And then I'm going to share with you a project that I have been working on. So welcome Clevis and Arya, and those of you that are watching in the background. My name is Sadhana. If you're new, I am a tarot reader. If you haven't figured that out, a teacher of tarot as well too. And I have done many a deep dive on this channel as well as personally. And there are just extensive videos. My methodology of doing a deep dive has changed over the years, and as I have grown as a reader, as my repertoire has expanded, this is sort of gone in and out of just various cycles. And so what I am offering here is a distillation of just everything that I've studied, everything that I love about the tarot, and I'm really excited about this journey. This journey will transition into a members only feature next week, and the reason for that is multifold. One is that we need to create a safe forum for discussing these cards and our relationship to the cards, our response to these cards. This is not a deck for the faint of heart. This is a brilliant deck for doing grief work, for looking into personal challenges that one is ready to confront in a very powerful way. I would compare this deck in its power to the Tarot of the She. There was another deck that came to mind I wanted to pull out that I thought had a similar impact. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank right now. This deck is really quite something. Yes, this is the story of Frida Kahlo, as told by Gabby Angus-West, but it is so much more. And I would say that if you are deep into a self-healing time of your life, that this is going to be an amazing journey for you. Welcome, Sharon. Namaste. So thank you all so much for being here. The Marielle, yes, but in a different way. I don't feel so confronted by the Marielle. Marielle tends to take me wandering back through past lives and ancestry, but yes, Marielle is also very confronting. And there are others out there as well too. So, can I talk about this? Hi, Tamian, welcome. About this practice of choosing a favorite and a least favorite card, and about awakening a deck. So first of all, one of the things, and I have shared this before, that I do when I receive a new deck, after I take off, if there's cellophane, crack the seal, and these cards are not in order. But what I do is I go through the entire deck and I welcome every card and I say hello. I don't spend too much time just sort of glancing at the imagery, and I just go through and basically say hello, welcome. Welcome to my tarot library. Welcome to my journey with the tarot. I might make a comment out loud. Wow, these are stunning colors. At this point, I'm not really journeying, but I'm going through every single card and saying hello to every card. And I may do this more than once. I mean, this is a pretty busy deck. There is a lot to look at, and you might want to welcome your deck more than once. So that's sort of the first step. And then perhaps in the second phase of that, I will go through and start to put the cards into a few piles. And these are just a few that I pulled this afternoon, cards that I kind of went, wow, there's something really special going on with these cards. And I'll create a pile of favorite cards, ones that I think are particularly clever in some way or another. And then I will create a pile of cards that feel there's something about them that either is not sitting well with me. And I used the word repulsion earlier. This is it's a very yogic term when we look at our desires and our repulses. And through the journey of self-healing and self-awareness, the degree of response for likes and dislikes becomes a little less tumultuous. That the highs are less high and the lows are less low. And it's very much a practice of learning how to navigate that. But I create this pile of cards, and I'm like, whoa, what is that? Is that really necessary? What is the creator trying to depict here? And so I create this pile of dislikes, and I will go back and look at them one by one and just really sort of take my time with them, because these cards can be our best teachers in the deck, the ones that kind of really rock our boat. There's something quite upsetting. I know sometimes people ask a question, well, would you purchase a deck if there was one card that you really didn't like? You didn't agree with it, or it really kind of triggered you. And for me, as a healer, working with the tarot for so many years, trying to help people through their own personal journeys of healing, of grief, loss of all kinds, I think if you're ready for it, these cards can teach you so very, very much. And so I can't say enough about this practice. So take time to welcome your deck and to sort it. And of course, every card won't go into the favorite or the least favorite pile. There will be a selection of cards in each of those piles. And then I will take time, and it might take several days to pare it down to one. And that is the challenge, to choose one favorite and one least favorite card. I haven't spent much time with this because I'm going to be doing this journey with you, and I've been working on the journal itself, which I'm going to share with you in a moment. This is a very intriguing card for me. There's something here, and thank you, Clevis, who is in the chat right now, who suggested the documentary that was on Prime. And this is in the words of Frida Kahlo, and it goes through, it's like an art piece, the way it goes through her life. It was brilliant. And it, not only in this card, but in a few of the cards in this deck, you really get that sense of her pride and her ownership of her Mexican heritage. It's really kind of beautiful. And here I feel that connection with that ancestral lineage. And there's something quite powerful in that. Very, very intrigued with this card. I'm going to do a bit of work with it. Just sort of really lean into it. Now, you may or may not be aware that Gabby Angus-West was inspired by the art of Frida Kahlo. And sorry, Amber is right here. I have people coming in and out of my house. Frida Kahlo was painting the, sorry, oh my goodness. Gabby Angus-West was inspired by the Crowley tarot, which was painted by Lady Frieda Harris. Is that right? Am I getting the name wrong? Do we have Frida Kahlo and Frieda Harris? Now I'm drawing a absolute blank here. Do they both have the same name? That is truly extraordinary. And if I've got the name wrong, it's just because I'm busy and I've come home from work, so I apologize. These two women, in very different parts of the world, different situations, were painting the tarot. And one of the subtitles for this deck is a Thoth-inspired Frida sandwich. So one of the things I would like to do in this deep dive is to see if the essence of the Crowley tarot is captured, or in which way. Thank you, Tamian. Or in what way the two decks diverge. I think it's a really interesting, a very interesting story. So, so there is that. It is because the Crowley tarot is so full of element and passion and energy. I think it's a brilliant deck to discuss alongside this particular deck. Now, I also pulled out the Thoth Journey Tarot, which is a beautiful watercolor deck that was painted by Ala Lu. The amazing journal was created by Joanna Kate Grant. And in this particular card, I'm not getting that same sort of energy, so I probably won't be diving into this particular card. But this is one deck that I did a deep dive on this in a tarot challenge not too long ago, and I'm going to continue to look at these cards. And if you have other Thoth-inspired decks that you enjoy working with, you may want to have those side by side. A little bit on the Frida spelling and the Frida name. If you read the biography, which I mentioned last week by Herrera, that there is a piece in that biography that says, I believe on Frida Kahlo's birth certificate, it was spelt Frieda, and she dropped the E to make it more of a Mexican name. And I'll share that with you more later. I'll highlight that section and share that with you. But isn't it just amazing that these two women painting at the same time in the world, these very, just, oh gosh, I don't know how to, there's so much energy and emotion in this art. It's really kind of brilliant. Okay. The journal, which some of you I have invited to through a Google Doc, is something that I have been working on for a long time. And this particular, I need to just, sorry, no, go here, there, and then share. I have created a, what would you call it, non-deck specific journal. And I decided to test, that I'm going to test the journal. This is sort of my beta run with this deck. And so as I was working with it, I decided to start to paste in some of the the photos that I was taking of this particular deck. And I am going to make these pages complimentary to my Rose Quartz members, as well as my devoted tarot students that are in Tarot Foundations too. So you will all get invited to the journal. And one of my suggestions for those of you that would like to have these pages is that you join as Rose Quartz just for a month. And then, because you're going to need to be a member anyway to be part of this deep dive, which is $5 a month. If you join for Rose Quartz for a month, then you will have access to the folder. I am not going to sell this yet because the journal isn't complete and it's not printed. So it's still very much a work in progress. And then you can go back to being a Citrine member. And yeah, so I want to share a little bit of this with you today and tell you what you're going to get. And when you start to read this, I did share a little bit of this in my Facebook group. You'll see that it is, there's lots of generic pages here, and that's because initially this journal was created as a generic journal. And eventually I will publish the generic version of it, but I need to test the journal first. So I talk a little bit about what is a deep dive and the format of the journal very, very briefly. And there are lots of pages in the journal where you have a place to either draw, because I know many of you have been drawing cards, which is really impressive, or if you're like me, before I had the use of Canva, I was taking photos and printing and pasting pictures of tarot cards in my journal. There's lots of ways you can do that. So there are pages where you can paste or draw and make notes. And this page is for your favorite card and your least favorite card. And then there are journal prompts. So going deeper with your favorite card, what is it about this card that inspires you? When I think about a favorite card, I think about that feeling of fire, that feeling of energy, and it lights something inside of you. And so that is one question you wish to explore. And of course, there are many other questions that may arise, and I will try to include blank pages in the journal as well too. The second question is, describe how the color or the art makes you feel. And I think this is an important question because this is about your response to the card. When we are looking at cards as favorites and least favorites, there's an emotional response that comes from the card. And I think it's important to look at that feeling. Does it, and this will be different for everyone, does it remind you where you're supposed to be going? Does it give you does it give you a kick in the backside? Does it make you want to be a better person? Does it make you feel happy and joyful? To really look at the card and go, what is it about this card why are you picking it as a favorite card? And I'll share with you a couple other favorite cards that I have on the table here as well too, and tell you some of my responses to them. And then I ask you to step into the landscape of the card and imagine yourself there. And this is something that I take from pathworking practice, from the work of Enrique Enriquez. There's been lots of inspirers, tarologists, who have done a really good job of inviting you through the imagery or through practice to actually step into the card. So if you step into your favorite card and you imagine yourself wearing those clothes, making that gesture with your hands, sitting in a particular way, looking in a particular direction, being near whatever is in the landscape, maybe even standing up and wandering through the landscape. That's what this journal prompt. And of course, there's very few lines here. You may need to add pages and pages. Some of you are brilliant, brilliant writers. Most of the pages, or all of the pages in the journal, are dated. And I think this is, it's a really good thing to do, because if you date your work, you'll have a reference point for your reflection. Okay, so that's why those are there. And then there is a page with similar response about your least favorite card. Describe what initially puts you off about this card. Now, the initially part here is really important, because your growth into this deck will change. As we discuss each and every one of these cards, your considerations will expand. Your awareness of the cards will expand. So initially, what puts you off about this card? More specifically, how does the art or the color make you feel? Does it make you feel rejected? Does it trigger something from your past? Does it make you feel, does it insult you? How does it make you feel? And when I'm working with students, I always like to ask them, where do you feel it in your body? I think that's a brilliant question. And then the third question, again, is step into the landscape of the card and describe your discomfort. Because ultimately, this card makes you feel uncomfortable. What is it? And there are an abundance of cards in this deck that make me feel uncomfortable. Whether it is dismembered body parts, whether it is a lesbian relationship, which is something that I would like to sit with a couple of the cards, because for me, that's not something I have explored. There's a number of cards where I feel very personally challenged, and I think it's important to look at my discomfort. Now, what I am going to do is every week there will be a prompt or an open invitation for you to share your reflections in my Facebook group. So the Facebook group will be a forum for discussing these cards. And this will also be a place for you to post a picture of perhaps the card that's in the deck and maybe another Thoth-inspired deck. That card that invites conversation. And maybe it's not a Thoth-inspired deck. Sometimes this deck also makes me think about Margaret Peterson. But there was another that came to mind, and we haven't mentioned it yet today, but I'll try to remember what that is. For those of you that aren't a member of my Facebook group, the membership is below. There is a link tree link, and the Facebook group link is there. And tonight I will put up the first reflection. Okay. And if you have done a deep dive with me before, you will know that I always start with the ones. I start with the beginning. And so this journal will explore everything to do with new beginnings at the beginning. So we explore the aces. I'm going to go a little bit quickly here. And I started to fill in some of those blanks. So in some places I have filled in the cards. And you have a double page here where you're looking at the 4 aces. And you can take notes, looking at them side by side, noting color, anything that comes up for you. So there's space for that in the journal. And this is an incomplete page. And here, this is an exercise I love to do, and that's looking at the aces and the tens side by side, looking at the full journey of the suit. And we will do this together, and we'll go through all of the aces and the tens and look at this in throughout the course. And then one of the things I do from there, so sorry, I know this is, and then I'm going to look at the other cards of new beginnings. And we have, of course, the Fool and the Magician as a number 1. And there's lots of prompts, journal questions, and places for you to respond in this journal. And then the Magician. And then we will go on to, and I've got some of my own quotations that I've collected over the years that I'm going to be pasting in here, places for you to put your quotations, and then we'll go to the 2s. So I'm really, really excited to share with you this. I mean, I've been doing this in my deep dives for a while, this sort of pattern, but I haven't put it to print. And then after we go through the all of the card pages, I'm going to offer up, I have pages on a few spreads that I love to work with. I'm going to talk about I've got a couple pages for about the first operation and why I find that in working with Golden Dawn decks so very important and inspiring. And then at the end of the journal, there's an invitation to come back and to rethink your favorite and your least favorite card and maybe choose another. So, and the journal right now is about 150 pages, and it will be more than that by the time the document is finished. And this document will be delivered in small bunches in Google Docs, and you will download this either as a PDF or you can download it. You can print it. So there, and of course you can do the deep dive without the journal. You don't need the journal pages. I will be talking you through all of them every week. But if you would like it, you'll need to join the channel. Except for those of you that are like Clevis, I will add you to the list. Clevis is a very dedicated student of mine, and I appreciate her so much. Taken so many courses with me. Okay, so that's the plan. So now let's go back to favorite cards, and I wanted to share with you and respond to some of these questions. This is one card that I was really intrigued with. The 9 of Wands. The 9 of Wands. And the 9 of Wands is, for me, it's a card of the hero. It's a card of the warrior. It's a card of perseverance through life. The suit of Wands has always been a card of a suit of Dharma, life path. And when I look at this card, and I don't think I've even read the diary and the guidebook, I look at these windows around this card, and I think of this as a time of reflection, reflecting on maybe all the wonderful things and all the steps and the great things I have done in my life. You know, you might think of the Nine of Cups as sort of an accolades card, but I also think of the Nine of Wands as this card of, if I think of Nine of Wands as my life path suit, the Nine of Wands is sort of an accumulation of these great completions that have built upon one another and made me the person who I am today, the strong person that I am today. And so when I look at this card and all those windows there, I'm thinking, wow, you know, and of course I can think about her story, and through all of those trials, she thrived in wonderful ways. Yeah, it reminds, yes, because, and that may very well be the bedpost there, and she may be all, and I believe she was, at least in the other movie, she was all dressed up and beautifully dressed, adorned, when she went to the museum for her exhibit. And if you're not familiar with the stories, I will share some of the stories as we go through the deck as well too. But there's something tremendously inspiring. So the first prompt was, what is it about this card that inspires you? Well, it inspires me to look back. And also the nines for me are also very reflective cards. I think the nines in the Waite Smith, they're all solo people. They are, they're cards of reflection. People are alone, and there's a lot of thought and contemplation in the nines, her resilience for sure. But what inspires me about this card is to look back at my own life and to not forget about all of the great things and all of those mini completions along the way that have made me the person who I am today. I think this is it's a wonderful depiction of this. And this may not be the intention of Gabby and Angus-West at all, but this is what I'm seeing in the card. How does this card, the color or the art, make me feel? Ooh, I absolutely love the shawl that is wrapped around her and the brilliant color of that. I feel, I can sense the fabric and the blues that are emerging in this card as well too are telling a story of harmony between blue and red, between fire and water. And so I want to write about that. And then I want to step into the landscape. And to me, this feels like one of those near-death experiences, indeed, where your life flashes before your eyes. And I'll tell you another story. I forgot about this when I did my brilliant exercise, shamanic. I did a medicine wheel training. And when we were studying about death, we had to go through an exercise where we pretended we were dead. And we were covered up with a sheet, lying on the floor. And the members of our group knelt around our body, our dead body, underneath the sheet, and spoke kind words. They told stories about who we were, or the ways that, and of course, we didn't know each other too well, but the things that came out of these people's mouth was really something, the impressions that were made, the connections that have been made. And it was, in one way, it made me really sad that we don't share like that from the heart, face to face with people. We don't write letters. We don't write poetry. We don't. Oh, for me, I was crying underneath that sheet. It was really something. So this, me sharing you with this about this card, these are the kind of things I want to write down and I want to remember. I think these are the great ways to step into a deck, to really invite inquiry. And I would encourage you to not get lost in what Gabby's intention was, or exactly what ooh, thank you for that, Clevis. And Aria's, her works are hot, hot, hot. And there's something about the third eye, right? The eye. And I know this connects to the Ace of Wands. But her brilliant insight of life. And maybe her eyes are, her three-dimensional eyes are open in this picture, and her third eye is open in this picture, but she's open to everything. So I will I'll include this photo and invite those of you that wish to respond about your favorite cards. And please, you don't have to respond to my post. You can make your own post in the Facebook group if you feel so inclined to share. Yeah. Okay, I think I'm just going to choose. I'm just going to work with that one for now. There are other cards that I just find intensely inspiring. And I just want to mention, I mean, there's so much going on in this card. And I'm really intrigued by the Vitruvian Man on the back, on Diego's back. I'm like, this is a card for me I know that I'm going to be deep, deep, deep into. All right, so I want to look at this card. To me, this feels a lot like a King of Cups card. The way sometimes that King of Cups cards can repulse. And it has to do with the debauchery. Diego is also in the Seven of Cups card, Seven of Cups. And I chose that card because I didn't choose that card because that really kind of fits, especially with the Crowley connection to the Seven of Cups. But this King of Pentacles, I don't know, maybe this is why some people are so repulsed with the Satyr in the King of Discs in the Mariel Tarot. It's just too much. Too many women, too much wine, too much everything. And such a smug look on his face. And at the same time, I feel from what I've read that, I wish I had written some of these things down. Diego loved life and loved living life. Of course, he loved wine and he loved women and he loved art and he loved people and he loved being in life. He was one who lived life. And what is it about this, the essence of this card, that doesn't sit well with me? So let me go to the three questions. What initially puts you off about this card? Well, it's the decadence. It's just all so much, and it doesn't really, for me, you know, when I think about a King of Pentacles card that I actually like, I think about that, the one in something like Tarot of the Hidden Realm, where you see that grandfather and that little fey granddaughter, and there's so much love and comfort and hominess. That contrast is hard for me to swallow. Why? And that's something that I will need to sit with. Can can we love? I just have so many things I can write about and say. This is one of the things I think why stepping into and really embracing the devil card and that lust for life and living life fully energy in a culture where control is so important, is really, really difficult. So these are great reflections for me. The devil is a card that I have written pages and pages and blogs about, and I'm so open to personally journaling more about this card. How does the art make me feel? How does the art make me feel? Well, I tell you one thing here that I find off-putting, and that is Diego was a very obese man. His face was obese. His body was obese. He was very large. He was tall as well, I believe. And in this card, that doesn't feel like it's highlighted. This feels like almost like a perception from inside of him. Like he's not looking in the mirror at himself. So there's something there too that maybe is not sitting right with me. So yeah, it makes me feel uncomfortable. So if I step into that landscape and maybe, I want to lie there naked with this man drinking wine, and I don't know. I need to take some time here to really think about this. It's a crazy card. I mean, contrast it with that one. That was another one that I'm not sitting very well with. Yeah, I mean, in general, the yellow in this deck is stunning, stunning, stunning. Okay, so that's it for today. I want you to really go through a week in your deck again, have a good look at the cards, and take time to choose a favorite card and a disturbing card, one that you're willing to journal at length with. And then if you are open to sharing, I think this will expand and invite even more conversation about this deck beyond TarotTube, beyond the YouTube videos. Okay, so yeah, that's the plan. That's the plan. Cleva says also, yeah, the way he perceived himself. And I've never really thought about, I think this is going to be really interesting to look at the way that Diego and Frida are portrayed in each of these cards. And we may have to agree to disagree on lots of these situations. And I want to say something else that's kind of important here. This is a very specific deck that tells a story of a very specific story. It has a layer of the Crowley Tarot, or an intended layer of the Crowley Tarot, and I'll talk a little bit more about the colors. You can go, if it didn't sink in, go back to your little white book, if you have this, and go back to the section that talks about the Thoth-inspired. So Gabby, as an artist, was intrigued also with the color, the prescribed color palette of the tarot, of the Golden Dawn colors, the Golden Dawn scales. And Mel Meline, I think I will pull out one of Mel Meline's decks, because she definitely is an expert on these Golden Dawn scales, and we may also be able to talk about color and the use of color more than we've ever talked about in any of the other deep dives as well too. Okay, so have a lovely rest of your day. I will see you next week, and I will chat with some of you more in the Facebook group if you care to share. Okay, thank you. Take good care. Namaste.